Okay, 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 okay. Welcome, welcome everybody. We're gonna get into it today. All right. Can you feel it? Can you feel the fucking fire? It's hot. It's hot right now, baby. We are on fire. It's summertime. It's hot. Okay. And, I thought that I was going to get into the more practical side of nutrition and sleep and just overall managing yourself because we've laid this foundation. If hopefully you've been following along here, we're at lesson 16 here, y'all. Lesson 16. If you've been following along, we built this foundation. You have this anchor, you have this system for your life that is maximizing your ability to flow and be free and to do the shit that you love to do, to be the best you that you can possibly be, to align to your purpose and to channel your genius in ways that serve yourself and serve the rest of yourself at the highest level possible. But I felt really called today to bring up and re-enter this topic of initiation, because it's been something that I've really noticed, and even going through within myself. Because, we talk about this hero's journey, because you go all the way back to lesson 1, this game that we are playing here, and aligning it to the archetypal, the mythological, the foundational essence of the myth, of the story that never happened, but is happening all the time, the hero's journey. The key element, one of the key elements to that journey is the process of initiation. And I think this is a process that needs to be more fully embraced, and which is why I'm dedicating this whole lesson to this process. And it is entitled The Trials of Initiation. Because inevitably, when you take that call, you hear it? It's just, motherfucker, it's been calling you, motherfucker. Pick up the goddamn phone. When you hear that call and you take the call, you have just initiated a process that is most definitely going to lead you to the hardest fucking shit you have ever experienced in your life. And that's the fucking point. All right? So I think it'll be helpful to just shed some light on my own process, because again, this is a spiral. So it's not something that you go through it once and then it's it for the rest of your life. Most of the time, there's going to be multiple calls, okay? There's going to be multiple adventures. There's going to be multiple levels. And really, it is all aligned to you seeking the highest expression of yourself. And the more that is your modus operandi, your operating mode to seek the highest version of yourself, the more you are going to continue to go through these cycles of the hero's journey. It's like your life, and hell, I mean, it's all just like this whole damn course, this whole thing that's being channeled through me. It's all these big cycles, the macrocosm within the microcosm, the microcosm within the macrocosm, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's fractal. It's meaning that every little tiny piece contains the whole, and the whole is ultimately is just, it keeps, Ken Wilber calls it holons, where it's like, if you imagine an atom, and an atom transcends and includes itself within molecules, and then molecules transcend and include themselves into cells, and then cells transcend and include themselves into multicellular organisms, and then multicellular organisms transcend and include themselves into multi-system organisms, like mammals, like animals, and then ultimately us human beings. And then even us human beings, we are in this process of transcending and including ourselves within the whole of humanity. And the whole of humanity is in the process of transcending and including itself within the whole of Gaia, of the earth, of the whole, the biosphere. And then the earth is in this process of continuously transcending and including itself within the entire process of the solar system and the galaxy, and then ultimately the entire fucking universe. And who knows, the entire universe is in the process of transcending and including itself into the wholeness of the whole of that which cannot even be spoken, because the very act of trying to put words creates condition that misses the point. Okay? And so there's all these little cycles going on. So it's like, you could look at your life as the big hero's journey. And then within your life, there's multiple cycles of this hero's journey. And again, it's really, and I can only authentically speak from my own personal experience here. We all are going on our different paths, and we have having different experiences. And that's why even when it comes to the process of initiation, it's going to look different for everybody. And that's something, I've had many conversations with clients and athletes and just, different people around this topic. And it can be very easy, and, even with myself included, to look at somebody else's experience and to start comparing your experience with their experience. For instance, one of the most common things that I hear is, that person has it so much easier. Why, what room do they have to complain? I mean, look at what I'm going through, or, look at what this other person has been through. Like, why does that person have any room to complain about his or her experience when it seems like they've got it so much easier? And I've noticed over and over again, it's like we're projecting our own perspective on our own journey and what we perceive as difficult and challenging onto somebody else's journey. For instance, like me personally, like I've had a lot of challenges around like financial shit. And honestly, just like the typical story of, I didn't grow up with money, and I've been in many, many situations. I mean, hell, even right now, if you've kind of been following along with this little side quest of mine where, literally my power's off right now. This whole operation is being operated through a battery pack right now, which, shout out to fucking Jackery. I don't have maybe they will be a sponsor for this shit. But that is honestly like really fucking cool. This little solar power pattern. Well, it doesn't have to be solar power. You just plug it in and charge it, but it's a generator type shit. And it powers this whole goddamn operation here. But I don't, the power got cut off. And it's real funny too. Like I watched the guy shut it off, and it's like these two little wires and he just disconnected the two little wires, and then he just put little wire caps on the end, and they're literally like 2 inches apart and just sitting there. And I look at that and it's just like, wow, like literally it's just 2 inches is all the separation from, completely tapping in to that particular power source and not. And the same thing like with the water. The water's fucking shut off right now. It's the same thing. It's all it is, a little fucking knob. It's just a knob. You just shut it off. That's the thing. Like I watched them do it. And I'm like, if I really had to, I could go and just reconnect the wires. But again, that's like, I'm in part of this. If you've been following along with the little side story, like I'm in this kind of legal, I'm in the really deep into the legal space right now and just understanding the law, and ultimately moving all my shit over to private where it's like, it can't be touched. It's just basically just common law, which don't like common sense, literally. Don't fuck with people. Don't hurt people. Let everybody have the freedom to do what they got to do. Don't infringe on anybody else's rights to be able to express themselves and to do what they got to do to thrive and survive, and just be honest in your dealings. And, I won't get into the whole story. You can listen to the other podcast, but it's like I presented legal tender, legal payment, and it was not accepted, which, is technically, that's against the fucking law. But again, like I knew it, I kind of knew, obviously I didn't know exactly how it would transpire, but I knew that a semblance of this experience would be presenting itself, which again is like, now I'm kind of going through this process of litigation and it's a longer process. But again, like coming from that lens, this is my version of this journey. Whereas, again, a lot of people may look at that and they're like, whoa, bro, that sucks. Because I think a lot of people can kind of resonate because it has to do with, I'm reading Krivda, the God Tricks Against the Matrix by Elena Retort or something like that. But she talks about kind of these different gods, and not the God of like, although religion is one God, but like the God of money and even the God of poverty. Basically, for me, I found it helpful to look at a definition of God. And when we say God, and this is something that I learned from Paul Chek and I utilize just to differentiate, because there's like all lowercase God, and then there's like capital G, lowercase OD God, and then there's all caps GOD God. And so like all lowercase God is ultimately can be anything. I like to, and I think this is from Joseph Campbell, I like to define God as, whatever you can't go without for more than 3 days is your God. Or another way, which is, I learned this from Ken Wilber, is ultimately like your highest value. Because even in that sense, like even the most hardcore atheist has a God, because there is something that is of the highest value to them. Okay. And that would be kind of like lowercase God. And then uppercase G, lowercase OD would be like the highest power of one realm. Like Christianity has its God, which would be the capital G, lowercase OD. Any kind of other religion may have its God, but it's not the whole underlying consciousness, the whole source, which would be capital all uppercase GOD. Okay, so just a little side note there for you. But basically, there's like the God of money, God of religion, God of science, God of poverty. But most people, with the experience that I shared, they could relate to that because it's a typical experience many people have. Maybe not necessarily to this extent, but most people can relate to like, all right, these fucking, which we all label as like money, because literally it becomes a god in itself, and there's a lot of energy behind it. But it really, as I'm learning, which is simultaneously, I feel richer and more free from this, system than I ever have, even though on the surface it may look like things are I guess in a sense, the worst they've ever been, depending on what your perspective is. But either way, that's the current situation. And some other person may have all the fucking, quote unquote money that they could possibly have, and yet they feel poor, and yet they're sick, and yet their health is shit, and they're miserable, and they're depressed, and like that can be their initiation. And that's why I said, like, this can look very different, and you got to be careful when you're looking at other people's experiences and beginning to compare, because what one person's version of success looks like from our point of view. If we're coming from this place of, identifying as poverty and lack and unworthiness, and we see somebody else that maybe presents those qualities that we feel like we lack within ourselves, like they seem charismatic, they seem like they have a lot of money, they seem like they've got kind of their shit together. Well, deep down they're miserable, and they're looking at us. It's like, man, they don't have to deal with all this bullshit. So either way, you're just being careful with the ways in which you project. And as a kind of a key there, and this is Ken Wilber calls this the process of cleaning up, is looking at the shadow, because all the things that it goes both ways. You can have like the dark shadow, which is the shit that we don't like about ourselves that we then objectify and project onto something else. And you could just look at the shit that pisses you off about other people, and you'll find your shadow there. And then you can even have the golden shadow, which is the shit that you admire but aren't willing to see within yourself, that then again you objectify and you project onto other people. So like positive qualities that we admire, but we're not willing to see them within ourselves, so we project them onto other people. And so again, you can look at, if you see things in other people that you really, really admire, and you put them on a pedestal, and you see and you think that those things that you see in the other person you don't possess within yourself, that can be an indicator of your golden shadow. And Ken Wilber, in his book I'm reading right now, is Finding Radical Wholeness. He talks about the 1, 2, 3 process of shadow work. And I might kind of fuck this up a little bit, because it's pretty fresh to me. But basically, you go from the process of, and maybe I'll just put this in my own words. So first you recognize, so you just kind of see, okay, here's the shadow. You don't have to do anything about it. It's like, here's the shadow. It's still something that's out there, but I can see it now. I can recognize it. And then secondly is then to accept it. So it's like, okay, I'm okay with it. And even, acceptance can be a tricky thing, because even you not liking it and accepting that you don't like it is the process of acceptance, which can be very powerful. Okay. I notice this a lot within myself. Like if there's a situation where I feel like a sense of irritation, or a sense of like, I don't necessarily desire this experience to be this certain way. And then I noticed that, and then I used to be like, well, shit, why am I desiring this not to be? Why can't I just accept it to be the way that it is? And even that is this very subtle form of non-acceptance. Whereas like even me feeling pissed off about something and feeling irritated about something and just totally accepting that that's the state and that's my feeling about it, that too is a process of acceptance. So it's like the recognition, which, it's like this totally objective thing. And then there's the acceptance, which, it's still this objective thing, but now it's like, I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with it. I don't have to like it, but I'm okay with it. And then the last step is the step of embracing. Okay. So recognition, acceptance, embracement. And the embracement is now you're owning that thing back to yourself. You're seeing it within yourself and you're embracing it within yourself. And it becomes you again. Your shadow, you shine the light on the shadow. You accept it as part of you. And then that's how you do shadow work, bro. It ain't that fucking hard, okay? And that's a lot of things. Like we create ideas of how complex things seem like they should be, and then we project that idea of how hard something should be, and then that's what we experience, and then we have challenges with it, and we go through the same cycles over and over again. But just as much as there's the possibility for the shit to be really hard, there's also a possibility for the shit to be really easy and effortless. And hopefully you're kind of seeing that by now, okay? So the process of initiation is going to look different for everybody. But the common thread is whatever is the shit that you need to be presented with as the opportunity, even though it may seem like a challenge, it may seem like the fucking greatest challenge you've ever faced. It is the opportunity. And once you're able to start seeing that as the opportunity, that again, you kind of go through this process, the recognition. Okay, I see there's this challenge, the acceptance of it. Okay, I'm accepting that this is what it is. It's just what it is. It's okay. I can feel however I feel about it. It's what it is. It's okay. And then the embracing, like, oh, this is for me. To be all I have the potential to be. This is the greatest opportunity that is presenting itself. Okay? And so again, it's going to look like whatever the fuck it's going to look like, and that's okay. So really the main point that I want to drive across, and like the kind of the real theme behind this lesson, is that the shit's supposed to be hard, okay? And that's why, like, you know, I see it over and over again because it's very prevalent in marketing, because that's how like we like to draw people in. It's like, you know, it's going to make shit easy. It's going to be convenient. It's going to be fast. I mean, literally, you put that as your headline: easy, convenient, fast, meaning it's going to happen. Like, I don't have to do much. I don't have to do anything different. I can just keep doing what I'm doing, and the results are going to happen. It's going to happen quickly, meaning there's not going to be a whole lot of time. I'm going to get it fast. I'm going to get the result fast. And it's going to be, what was the other one? Quick, easy. Well, that's really the main two, fucking quick and easy. And it's not going to cost me anything. It's very low. And I guess that's what, you know, convenience. It's like, it's not going to take much. I'm not going to really have to do anything. And like on the surface, that's what we're searching for. And that's why we get so hooked. Because again, we have these ideas that, fuck, life is so hard. These things are so challenging. I just want to get away from it all. And that's why a lot of times, even when you do take the call, what do? You know, shit gets hard and you're like, no. Boop. Let me go back to just doing what I was doing. Even if I was fucking miserable, at least the misery was convenient for me. At least it was comfortable for me because it was familiar. Okay? And I think that's one of the biggest things is we put so much effort and energy in maintaining the familiar. And you want to know why? Because when you're stressed the fuck out, and like, again, this can come from so many different areas. If you're not eating the way that you need to be eating, if you're in a job that you fucking hate with people that you don't like, and you're just doing it to be a fucking prostitute to make some money. You know, if you're in a situation in your life where you did everything you thought you were supposed to be doing because it's what society said you were supposed to be doing, it's what your parents said you were supposed to be doing, it's what your teacher said you were supposed to be doing, when in fact they were just projecting their own shit onto you of their ideas of what they think is good that they probably didn't do. And that's what you did. And then you get to the, you know, Joseph Campbell says you climb the top of the ladder, and then you realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. And that's when the crisis happens. But again, the point is not that you fucked up or that you made a mistake. It's just recognizing like, okay, here is the crisis. Here is the chaos. Here is the opportunity to do something different. And all of that energy that you spent trying to create this illusion of certainty and security, which, as I said, is a fucking illusion. Now, if you don't allow yourself to see that, and to recognize that, to accept that, and then to embrace that, then you're going to spend all of that energy just trying to patch up the holes and basically trying to do everything that you can to mask the symptoms of the crisis so that you can just continue to do the same shit you've been doing because it's familiar. And like we go in these cycles. This is like a fucking addiction, literally. You know, people talk about addiction to drugs and all these things, but we have addictions to patterns of behavior. And a lot of that stems from stress, and it's a paradox because the exact thing that's going to help us grow and to move beyond and to break the cycle is the exact thing that we're trying to avoid because we're so fucking stressed out. And again, this is why we can sit and talk about this shit all day. I can give you this whole system, but if you aren't healthy, if you don't have a foundation of health within your body, mind, then you aren't going to have the resources to be able to do something different. Because if you're running away from the lion, you're not worried about new and novel shit. You're not worried about creative expression and your 10-year vision and, creating your life types and all this shit. You're like, I'm just trying to fucking eat. I'm just trying to fucking live. I'm just trying to run away from this lion and not get eaten. And that's why this other work is so important. But also recognizing that it's supposed to be this way. And this is why, for me personally, I find that, and again, this is my experience, this is my path. Not say you have to copy this. Although, I'll be fucking straight up with you right now. I personally feel if everybody would just fucking listen to this shit and just do these goddamn things, then damn near everybody's life would be better. That's my personal opinion. Because honestly, everybody that's actually taking the time you don't even have to do anything. Just exchange and engage in this frequency that's coming through here. Your life will be better, my friend. And it may not be easier. It'll probably be fucking harder. But the thing is, and this is what I was getting to in my own life, I have recognized that the seed of opportunity is within the challenge. And so whenever I see that I want to grow, or I even just notice that I am growing into this new level, and there seems like there's this chaos and uncertainty that I'm being surrounded with and presented with, instead of trying to avoid and distract and repress, which is like, it's just the common thing that you do. Because again, if you're under stress already and you're presented with more stress, even though that additional stress is the call to embrace and move into it so that you can break through it, the natural tendency is to put your head in the sand and to dig deeper and deeper, crawl back, put your head down in your shell, and to go back and try to maintain your familiarity at all costs. But when you recognize that that is where you need to go, the fear is where you need to go, the cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek, then you start to embrace that. And then, like, even with right now, I've been recognizing this transformation happening. And so, like, being presented with all these different things, it's like, yes, this is the fucking initiation. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the fucking blessings. Thank you for helping me become who I know I need to be. Because again, if shit was easy and comfortable, guess what? You probably wouldn't change. Now, would you? And when there's pain when there's discomfort, when there's unfamiliarity, when there's chaos, that's the opportunity, because it's like shit's already fucking hitting the fan all over the place. So now is your opportunity. I got a bloop bloop. So now's your opportunity, bro. It's already fucked. Shit's already fucked. That's the beautiful thing. It's already fucked. So now you get to do something about it. Okay? So, I mean, really, that's like the main shit, okay? And so, even in my own life, I'll just give a couple, just maybe outline a little bit of a storyline here. So, there's a few major points for me. So one, when I was in my senior year of high school, my parents, my mom, she got a new job, and it was required us to relocate. And so I moved to a different city, didn't know anybody, no family, no friends, no nothing. It was my senior year of high school. So that's like, in high school, that's, it's like the fucking your senior year. It's supposed to be like the greatest year. And I was just completely uprooted, and I was the most depressed. That was like my first real experience of like, bro, this fucking sucks. And I'm depressed as fuck. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. But again, that was, at that point, I was very much in that state of like trying to avoid and distract myself. But at a certain point, it's like you can't fucking hide from yourself anymore. So I was really deeply presented with that. And that was one of my first real calls of like, yo, bro, like you either going to go down this path, or you're going to take the fucking call. You're either going to go down this well-trodden path, where everybody's telling you should be going, get your fucking straight A's like you've been doing, go to college, get your little fancy engineering degree, get your safe little job, make your safe little salary, yada, 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 get your white picket fence with the house and some kids, boom, boom, boom. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And it was all right there, literally fucking laid out right in front of me. But I was going down that path, and I felt like shit. I felt like I was not being who I was supposed to be. And so I was presented with this opportunity, and that's when I decided, like, no, fuck that shit. And for me, one of the most helpful perspectives, and maybe again, it's just me, maybe it's not for you, but whatever. But when I was in that place, I was studying Osho. I just kind of discovered Osho, and particularly his book Intuition by Osho. Check it out. And the essays of Ralph Waldo Emerson, specifically the self-reliance. Those two things, okay, gave me permission to really just fucking go for it. Because it was like, I literally, when you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're at the bottom of the bottom, there's what else are you going to do? Shit's already fucked. What else are you going to do? So I was like, even if I die, like literally, if I just thought about worst case scenario, which, so many times we're like, it's funny because the paradox, we're always trying to avoid the worst case scenario, which leads us to continuously just think about the worst case scenario because we're thinking about what we want to avoid, when paradoxically, think about, like, if you actually just embrace the worst case scenario, you realize it's not so bad. So for me at that time, my worst case scenario was like, I just kill myself and then it's over anyways. I'm done. It's, that's it. Boop. Done. And it's like, okay, my mom's going to cry, grandma's going to cry, years go past, my mom dies, my grandma dies. It's like, then I'm just nobody, forgotten, whatever. And then like a billion, whatever, 100 billion, whatever the fuck, the sun burns out, the earth blows up, then it doesn't fucking matter. So it's like, if I die, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay. So it's like, if that's the worst case scenario, then why don't I just go for it? I'm going to die anyways. Either way, I can live my whole life fucking miserable, doing shit that everybody else thinks that I should be doing, or I can do exactly what I want to do and, face all of the scrutiny and potential disappointment of other people's opinions and expectations, and ultimately go, which I didn't know at the time, but go through the hardest shit I've ever gone through to help me become who I'm supposed to be. It's like, either way, I'm going to fucking die. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I want then, if that's the case. So that was like one of the first big awakenings for me. And then that in itself, along with, again, so many different factors, people that I was presented with, books that I was presented with, just really started giving me more and more of my own inner permission, just allowing like myself to give myself permission to just live life how I wanted to. And then, I ended up going to college for a semester. I didn't even make it a whole semester. I fucking dropped out. I decided I was going to walk. I was in West Lafayette, Indiana, Purdue University. I decided I was going to walk to Bloomington, Indiana, Indiana University. And it was like a 14-hour walk. And I was just like, fuck it. I'm going out. Because for me, I recognized early on that I already knew shit was going to be hard. And I also recognized, and I think a lot of this is my own background, just being an athlete, where when you go to the gym, like you're not expecting it to be easy. It's like you already know it's going to be hard. And you know exactly because it's hard, that's how you grow. And that's how you get stronger. And that's how you get better. And that's how you make progress. So I think I recognized that early on as an athlete. So I took the same approach in all these other areas of my life where it's like, I already know this shit's going to be hard and uncomfortable. So instead of like trying to make it less hard and less comfortable, why don't I just fully fucking embrace it and go all in, because I know I'm only going to get better. And to a certain extent, the more challenging that it is, the more I'm going to grow from it. So it's like this accelerated path. Okay. And so I was like, fuck it. But it was like November, it was cold. And I walked maybe for an hour or so and realized I went from West Lafayette to just fucking Lafayette downtown. And I had a credit card, which I was literally living off of credit cards at the time. And I had like $60 left on a credit card limit. And I was literally at the bus station. I saw, okay, there's a bus that goes there. I got a bus ticket, hung out in the bus station for a while, and I took the bus to IU Bloomington. So that was like another kind of big thing where I decided like, yo, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to make my own decision and I'm just going to go for it. And then, I ended up going back home for, I think, a couple of years. I had an internship at a gym. Like I got way more of an education in those 2 or so years than I would have at school, because I was like literally in the damn thing, like being an athlete, coaching. Like literally, I was doing what I would have done had I had gone through the 4 whatever years that I was going to school for. I literally went back home and just started doing it. And I went through an internship. And so that's the other thing too, like along with the initiation, when you go through that process, the help also shows up. The mentors show up. It's like the saying, the cliche saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. The help shows up. Okay? Because you're on your path, you're aligning. It's like the more you align with that, the more the synchronicities are going to show up as well. And I've been noticing that just more and more and more. The more I just fucking surrender to what is being presented in life, and I just fully embrace what is happening and not putting all my own projections and expectations and desires and all that shit, all my baggage, all my shadow, the more shit just lines up. And it's like, I literally could not have expected it to be any better. So that's why you just trust. And after going through that, so I ended up hitchhiking away from home, because I just recognized like being at home, it was just too comfortable. And that's, I think, another theme, which I think maybe was a little bit of a, which it might even still be to this day, like a shadow unconscious element where it's like, because even struggle can be an addiction. It's where, it can get a little tricky, because even on the other side of it, where we're avoiding the challenges and the struggle, when you fully begin to embrace the challenges and the struggle, that in itself can also become an addiction, where it's like, you don't know who you are unless your life is hard, which, damn near a lot of people are like that. It's like, you don't know who you are without your pain. You don't know who you are without your depression. You don't know who you are without your sadness. And therefore, you could be presented with all kinds of solutions and different opportunities. But if they take you away from your core identity of who you believe that you are, you're going to find a way back to that familiarity, because it's your own self identity. And so I think there was a lot of that in the beginning. Because again, I was trying to find some kind of certainty, like all of us. I was trying to find some kind of certainty, even though it was an illusion. And even if that certainty was like I'm struggling and it's hard, at least that in itself was something I could hang on to. Okay. But I feel like that has now more evolved and just, because even now within the struggle, it's not fucking hard. It's just what it is. Our concept of hard, even like the most brutal training session isn't hard. It's just what it is. It's like, yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, my muscles are sore or, whatever the case may be, but it doesn't necessarily make it hard. That is a judgment that we place upon an experience. Okay. So yeah, I ended up like, it was too comfortable at home. I was like, it's too easy to just get wrapped up in, watching whatever's on the fucking TV because it's just on 24/7. And I was like trying to study and I was trying to better myself. And it was too easy to just sit there and play video games all day. So I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here, man. I got to get the fuck out. I got to put myself in an uncomfortable situation that's going to force me to grow. Just in the same way you fucking put the weight on the bar and you go for it and you lift it and you literally force yourself to show up to the occasion. Force yourself to grow. And so I think there's on the other side of even that, there's this something to be said about the opportunity of purposely putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable to force you to grow. Because again, you can wait for life to present you with the challenges, or you can kind of foresee what is coming and purposefully move into it, knowing that that's where the opportunity is. And that's why I feel like a lot of what is transpiring now, it's like I see the challenge that is presenting itself. And again, we can try to do everything to avoid the inevitable, but once you see that it's inevitable, you just dive in. It's like, all right, it's like the story of the buffalo versus the cow. Where it's like the buffalo, they see the storm's coming and they head towards it because inherently they know that if they move towards the storm, it's going to pass sooner, even though they're like purposefully going into the challenge. Whereas the cow sees the storm, it goes away from it and tries to outrun the storm, but it's inevitable. And actually, when you try to go away from it, it makes it take longer. Like you're in it for longer because you are resisting the natural flow. Because even if you just stay where you're at, in this analogy, it'll pass sooner, whatever. So yeah, I hitchhiked. I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving. I went, and I even got a gun pulled on me. I mean, it's kind of a whole little story adventure. But I hitchhiked up back to where I grew up, and I literally just started from ground zero. Like I was basically homeless. I was staying on my buddy's futon, and I started just like, I was working a bunch of jobs, just kind of getting shit going. And that in itself was its own challenge. But I was like, the more, I don't have to go through every fucking thing, but the more I recognized that the opportunities were within the challenges, the more that I embraced them. And again, because the questions that you ask are giving you the answers that you're getting. So in the answers that you're getting are implicit in the questions that you ask. So the question the question isn't what is the answer. The question is what's the right question that's going to give me the answer that I'm looking for. All right. And so once you start to ask better questions and you kind of see the answers that are being presenting themselves, you can align your questions to give you that answer. Okay. And I think there's a whole lesson on this, so I'm not even going to go deeply into that. But I recognize all these challenges were the opportunities is the whole point of the story. Okay. So yeah, I can keep going on and on, but I think that's a good place to end right here. Shit's supposed to be hard, bro. It's supposed to be hard. And especially if you're a dude, I can't relate as much to women, obviously, because, the women have their own kind of initiation with childbirth and even their period, which even that, from my perspective is kind of a little skewed because, so many women, they end up in, again, it's like the whole medical system where it's like you start getting induced and then you're on a bunch of drugs. You like literally you just go to sleep and you wake up and there's the baby type of shit. So I think even that's getting a little skewed. All right, make sure my computer's not fucking up. And even then, and that's where, again, take the call, which is why you move into your passion, because your passion is your sword that helps you to navigate through the challenges. Because when you love something enough, you're willing to die for it. Okay? And so when you love something enough, you're willing to go through the challenges and to work through them and to see the opportunity in them and to embrace them, because you see that it's moving you towards what you love, which ultimately just becomes love itself after a certain point. Okay? So that's what we got for lesson 16 today. The trials of initiation. Move into the shit, bro. Recognize, accept, embrace. Recognize, accept, embrace. Just keep going through that process over and over again, and you'll be on your way. Okay? So we wanted to include this lesson in here because, it's usually around this time you start taking little actions and, you kind of take the call. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And then shit gets hard. And then it's very easy to just run back. And I think this is personally, I feel like this is one of the main fucking diseases of our culture today is we've got a bunch of little boys running around that have not been properly initiated because, they're in our ancestors, there used to be more formalized systems of initiation. Literally there in some cultures, they would have the kid when he was ready to kind of enter into manhood, there'd be all the kind of elders and the adult men lined up, and he would run through the middle of them, kind of the center lane, and he would basically just get his ass kicked, like damn near to the point of death. And going through that was his initiation. Or, they'd go on a vision quest. And right now, we don't necessarily have that. And so, it can look like many different things, but in my personal opinion and experience, if you follow what you're passionate about, if you follow what you love, it is going to lead you to that place. And because you have that anchor, you have the sword of the shit that you love to do, you're more likely to move through it. Okay? All right. That'll do, my friends. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. And, I'm going to give you just a little plug here. Like literally, if you want more of a step-by-step process, one, go take the course. It should be linked already right here. Just go hop on the course, because the course, we just get more direct to the point, and it's like literally boom, boom, boom. And if you want to take it even a step further and you want me to hold your fucking dick along the way, then every quarter, so whenever you're listening to this, the second week of October, we'll have more information coming out. But we're going to be launching our next installment, our next cohort of our 12-week foundations program, which is literally like we take the course and we walk you through it step by step and hold you accountable and, teach you literally all the things with the exercise and the movement and the diet. We teach you and we cater it more towards your individual needs. And then that's kind of like that in itself becomes your initiation into being a part of the Optimal Evolution team. Okay. All right, y'all. Gonna be signing off. I love you. Keep going. I know the shit's hard. It's supposed to be, but even hard doesn't have to be hard. Keep staying hard until it gets easy, bruh. Okay? Because then the more you grow, honestly, the shit's only going to get harder. Just like the stronger you get, you're only going to put more weight on the bar. But after a certain point, even the hardest shit ain't hard anymore, bro. It's just what it is. Just what it is. All right. Boop, boop. Peace.